In the words of Steve Harvey, I got a good one for you today. If you don't get that quote, that reference, watch Family Feud, and I'm sure within a few episodes, you'll see that he likes to say that before his episodes. Anyway, kind of beside the point. Our parable for today comes from Matthew 18, starting at verse 21. It says, Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Now, this is a long parable, so I'm going to interrupt my reading of it to kind of explain as we go, okay? So, 7 times would have been considered incredibly generous. Like, Peter's like, should I forgive them as many as 7 times? Like, how gracious is 7? Like, this is an incredible number. And it is. Like, if someone kicks you in the shin 7 times, and you forgive them all 7 times, I would say that's pretty impressive. So, but then Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7. Therefore the kingdom of heaven might be compared with a king who wishes to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. Okay? This number is more than any person at the time could possibly have hoped to earn in their lifetime. So this debt is, for all intents and purposes, unpayable. Since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. And this was how slavery worked in this culture, in this society. It wasn't based on race or ethnicity nearly as much as it was, if you couldn't pay your debts, you were sold into slavery to pay your debts. Or if you were so this was normal. This was a thing that happened. You owed more money than you could pay, you belong to someone else now. So the servant falls on his knees, imploring him, Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And out of pity for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. And this is key. He just totally forgave him the debt that would have taken more than a lifetime for him to make enough money to pay back. But when the same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. Now, 100 denarii is not an insignificant amount of money. Most commonly, a denarii is considered what like a day laborer would make in a single day. So, this is 100 days of work. That's not nothing. And seizing him, he began to choke him, saying, Pay what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, Have patience with me, and I will pay you. Are we seeing the parallelism here? This is exactly what the servant did earlier in the parable. He says he refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported it to their master all that had taken place. I'm going to get there in a second. Then his master summoned him and said, You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Okay, so we're going to start drawing these parallels. The master who forgave the 10,000 talents of debt, the unpayable debt, that's God. And we are those who owe him a debt we can never repay. And he forgives it. We beg him for mercy, and he forgives it wholeheartedly. And what he's saying here is when we refuse to forgive someone who has offended us, we're acting as the second servant. Like, we were just forgiven a debt we could never pay, and now we're going to throw someone in prison, or we're going to punish someone, or we're going to hold a grudge against someone for, relatively speaking, nothing. And what I want to key in here too is when the other servants saw what took place, they were distressed. So when you don't forgive your brothers and sisters, the relationship that you have with them is not the only one that is impacted. People who see you say, well, that forgiveness should be there, and it's not. So this parable really, it calls us to forgive one another. And I guess I want to give you a challenge on this today. If there's anyone that you are holding on to some offense, I do not care how big it is. I want you to call them right now, text them right now, however you communicate with them, and forgive them fully. And what forgiveness means is you can never bring that up again, because that debt has been paid. You don't hold on to it in case you have an argument down the line and you need to bring it up. Forgiveness is complete. So whether it's a brother or sister who cut off your video game time and you need to forgive them, or whether it's a brother or sister and you're grown and you've been estranged because you guys had a conflict over who knows what, reach out and offer forgiveness, because that's what we're called to do. Sorry I went over time. It was a long parable, and it's a good parable. They're all good parables. Brothers and sisters, go in peace. Serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.